afternoon, and welcome to MATC Now, the first episode of the fall semester. We're coming to you live from the downtown Milwaukee PBS studios. I'm your host, Kaitlyn Herzog, and we have a great show ahead. Do you like video games? Have you considered studying to be a video game developer? Did you know about the ghost train in Milwaukee? Look no further. We're going to show you all of this and more coming up right here on MATC Now. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us on MATC Now. Today we have a special guest host joining us, Brian Carlson, the Associate Dean of the School of Media and Creative Arts here at MATC. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Carlson.
Glad to be here.
So, you've been the Associate Dean for how long?
About 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
What made you want to become a dean?
Well, I think, it's great to see the programs and the students and their growth within their time, and overall, within management and things of that nature, it's been a nice transition to be able to support overall students and the faculty and staff within the program. So it was just kind of a natural fit.
Natural fit, that's great. What made you want to become a part of MATC specifically?
Sure. So this community is something that is really important to me, and so it's something that I really want to be a part of. Everything we do here at MATC is helping students within the community grow, develop with their skills, and eventually get jobs when they leave here or transfer to four-year institutions. So I really want to be a part of that. It was a great opportunity to help this community, to work with people within areas that I was familiar with, and ultimately just be a part of something that's truly special.
Great. What actions have you implemented for this program here at MATC?
Sure. So we have a number of different academic areas, and there's a lot of different pieces to that puzzle on a daily basis. But a lot of things really more so into supporting the equipment needs of the programs, budgeting for appropriately for those from all of our programs, from animation to television and web design, for example. So it's really thinking and planning many years ahead, especially when it comes to curriculum and things of that nature, and working with our state partners and those types of things. So it's a lot of planning that takes some time, but really working with the faculty and staff directly, and overall trying to meet student needs.
What is one program that you think in your area of expertise that you think is really special to MATC?
Well, I really think the television video production program is one of the most special. We're the only program within the state technical system. It's really amazing to see what's happening here, and in the program, of course, working with the Milwaukee PBS studios, and being able to be on the forefront of the technology needs, so students can get trained with that hands-on training that really they can't get anywhere else. So it's really a special place for them.
That's right. And then what do you think MATC has done that's really surprised you really quickly?
Sure. So I think one of the biggest things that we've done is our Promise campaign. We both have a Direct from High School Promise campaign where students can attend school tuition free, and then also now, as of recent, an Adult Promise for those returning to school to finish up. We're helping them do that. So
That's right.
we're really excited about that.
That's right. We'll talk more about that later. All right. And in the meantime, let's take a look at something fantastic. It's this new technology coming to the downtown campus that's looking to prepare students for a career that employers are looking to fill. Check this out. But before we go to that, this year, MATC is introducing a revolutionary way for adults over the age of 24 to pursue a degree tuition-free.
A hopeful future. That is the biggest advantage that our students have. Many more people in Milwaukee will have that hope with the expansion of the Promise program to provide free tuition for students over the age of 24 who are reapplying to MATC. Spearheading the Promise program is Laura Bray, Vice President of College Advancement, and Johnny Craig, the President of Student Services.
And the basics of the Promise program is that it means free tuition So the Adult Promise program started focusing on 53206. And that was the initial pilot that began last spring. However, since then, we've expanded it through our entire service area. Our students that are here now are showing higher GPAs and higher completion rates as well. And so we know by providing access to those students and giving them opportunity for education, we can really help to impact their lives and the lives of the community as well.
Many are hoping to take advantage of the new tuition-free program. None more so than Austin, who hopes to create more time to dedicate to school.
Having free tuition would make everything a lot easier. I'd probably quit my job because it's like this big thing that's weighing over my head, and it would be a lot of stress gone. School's going pretty good. The teachers are very nice, but like I don't like having to pay all that money, you know?
And there's this real dilemma we have where we have people that are underemployed or unemployed, but at the same time we have companies who are just demanding and needing to have qualified workers. And it's very difficult to hear that juxtaposition almost every day. And I think the Adult Promise is something that really meets the needs of the community, of individuals who want to get ahead and really want to have a better life for their families with a better income and more economic stability.
And so it's not just about that one student, it impacts the lives of their parents, it impacts the lives of their kids, their siblings. And so education is the best tool we have to change and get families out of poverty. And so Adult Promise can be the stimulus for that. It can be the stimulus for improving the livelihoods for generations of a lot of students that we serve. And so it provides access, it definitely supports our business community, meeting that skills gap, but also it changes lives tangibly with the opportunity for students to come back and get an education.
If I was able to save up more money easily by having no tuition to pay, I think I would be able to achieve my dream a lot quicker.
Once he graduates, Austin plans to move to Colorado.
My mom wouldn't be too happy because she doesn't like me moving, the idea of me moving away, but I'd be pretty happy. I'm sure they'd be proud of me though.
On October 17th, 2018, Milwaukee Area Technical College opened up their brand new Cnc Swiss Lab, offering a fantastic opportunity to many students looking to have a career in a more modern form of manufacturing.
We know that talent, there's a war on right now to get the best talent, right? And so we know that equipment like this helps us and helps us locally to win that war. Most of our students come from our community and they stay in our community because that's where their families are and they enjoy living in this area.
My name is Chris Shomicki. I am the machine tool instructor I'm actually machine tool instructor for the whole machine tool area, but my primary focus is the Cnc Swiss Lab along with screw machine. The Cnc Swiss is an actual one-year diploma program. The first semester is spent on, like I said, the older technology. The older technology, the single spindle and the multi-spindle screw machine, help them learn the actual physical metal cutting applications as well as processing a part. From there, they move on to the second semester, which is Cnc Swiss. When it comes to updating the lab and expanding the lab, we had a couple things working. We had a couple things going on that was inside of our old lab. Our old lab itself looked dated from a 1950s era manufacturing perspective. Okay, one of the things that we would run into is when students would come down to the old lab, they would look inside of it and automatically there'd be the stigma placed with what these careers potentially are. Okay, and with that said, I want to change the outlook of what manufacturing is today. Okay, there are clean environments such as what you see inside this room. They're well lit up, they're bright, very well maintained, very well organized. One of the issues employers currently have, everybody is going crazy out there, and I mean that in a good sense where everybody's got a lot of work coming in. One of the issues that they're running into is they don't have the skilled workers to come in. Right now, our enrollments are low. I'm looking to change that, okay? Like I said, one of the biggest issues that we have at the school right now, most people do not, number one, even if they're in the trade of machining, they don't know what Cnc Swiss is because they've never been introduced to it. Okay. Number two issue one of the second issues that we have is students coming out of high school are unfamiliar with this pathway because of what they have been familiar with inside their high school activities, such as maybe they've taken metal shop, but in many cases the teachers in the high schools are unfamiliar with this type of equipment and this type of application. The open house that we're sponsoring here or having at MATC is within the campus here is a combination of the machine reps being on site as well as us here at MATC opening up the lab to business, opening up the lab to educators, opening up the lab just as an open house for the public to come and take a look and see what is being done here at the school. Get the word out that these are decent careers, that this is a viable career that they could potentially pursue.
And so with that, I know it's time to cut the ribbon. Take all our strength.
They said that one of their biggest concerns with that lab is just getting the word out there and having enough students sign up to use it. That seems like a common occurrence here at MATC, where a fantastic program or a piece of technology goes unnoticed and underutilized because people simply don't know about it or understand the opportunity it represents. What do you think, Brian? I thought that was kind of cool to see that they've updated it and brought it back into like the new century.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I wasn't aware of Cnc Swiss prior to that as well, and so I think there's a lot of others as well that are still trying, still learning about it. So I think once more do, I think those opportunities will just grow.
Yeah, definitely an interesting story. Well, did you know that the video game industry is projected to be worth over $130 billion by the year 2020? We went down to MATC's Computer Simulation and Gaming program to find out how students are preparing to join this exciting and growing field.
Modern-day video game developers create huge imaginative worlds that grab people's attention. But where do those worlds start? You may be surprised that they start in classrooms just like this one in MATC's Game Design and Animation program. It's a tough program, but according to instructor and video game industry veteran Emil Harmson, students get a head start that's second to none in a field that's growing rapidly.
For an associate degree level, I would say we're top tier, and there's only maybe a few other schools that actually do it quite well. And what we do in this program is we force you to build. We yell at you to build. Even outside of class, you're building. If you're not building with, inside of class, you're building with somebody outside of class. When you graduate, you're still building. And I'd say even we compete even very well with other four-year programs.
Game design student Sawyer Miller, currently in his third semester with the program, got into game design as a way to combine his hobbies with his skills and sees definite opportunity in his future.
I had always been interested in games as a general medium, more like board and card games. I've always been a big fan of Magic the Gathering since a young age. And I wanted to get to a point where I could start making my own board and card games. And I thought that, MATC actually has a really solid game design program.
Students don't start out making the latest blockbuster, though. Their first lessons teach the basics with something a little more old-fashioned.
Then in the early stages of that class, they also have to play classic board games like Catan, Munchkin, other games like that, Small World, and then we have to talk about them after we play them, about what aesthetics of play are in those games. And then at midterm, they have to come together with another team. They form in like teams of 3, and then they have to make their own board card game. And then they have to play test it, and then at the end we play each other's board card games, and then we talk about the aesthetics of play.
One of my first projects was actually this game over here. This is One Last Job. It's a heist board game with a lot of hidden information. So there's a cops and robbers sort of mechanic where the robbers know where they are and the cops know where they are, but they don't know where each other are. So they hide their locations and they play out turns writing down this hidden information and try and find each other in this heist.
Miller gives this advice to those looking to get into the game design program.
It's hard work. It's a lot of math, more math than you would think would be required. and you really need to get your hard math skills solid to do really anything. I didn't think that it was going to be as much math as it is, and I'm having to relearn some things that I had forgotten from like my high school math classes.
For more info on MATC's game design program, visit matc.edu.
As you saw, testers, designers, and producers are in high demand as technology increases rapidly. New games are continually in production, and computer simulations are used as educational and training tools in schools and businesses. Today, we have a special guest joining us in the studio. This is Brandon Martinez, who is a student of the animation career, who can tell us from firsthand how great it is.
So actually, I'm more of a design major as opposed to animation, but no, it's a really rewarding program. It's the largest industry in the world, or close to the largest industry in the world. As you said, it's approaching the 330 billion mark by 2020, so it's looking really strong. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of work, a surprising amount of work compared to what people expect, but it's fantastic.
So how has MATC been for you so far?
Really amazing, actually. My initial plan was to come here for a semester or two and then transfer to another university, but I was so happy with how MATC goes and how high quality the program is now. It's been treating me that I actually decided to stick around because it's fantastic. And
that was part of the reason why you wanted to come to MATC?
Yeah, just because it seemed like a really quality education, especially for the low tuition price, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's nice, it's affordable, and it's a very high quality program, which is just extremely nice in today's education world.
What made you want to get into the gaming industry? Are you a particular fan of video games?
I am.
Unlike myself, so you're going to have to work with me here and teach me some things, okay?
Of course. So gaming was sort of always a fascination of mine, even when I was little, and that fascination, I guess, at some point developed into much more of a passion. I stopped playing games, started more looking into them, reading them, trying to see like what's cool in a game, what's not, what works, what doesn't, and eventually that kind of just developed me coming out of high school and saying, I want to make games, and I came here, and it's been some of the most rewarding experiences of my life.
When we were watching the story, you mentioned how you worked with Sawyer Miller on One Last Job.
Yes.
Explain how that was like. What, you had to make a board game or a card game?
Right, so for Introduction to Game Design, the name of that course, you have to make a card / board / dice, whatever kind of game you want to make, and then show it off to the class, and it can kind of be anything. So we wanted to make a game with closed hand information. The idea is
Elaborate on that. What's closed hand information?
So the idea is that the different players in the game have different information that is available to them and only them. Sort of like in blackjack, when only you know that what your card face down is, or Battleship, or like that. Right. And so that game went off without a hitch. We made it fine. The only part that really went poorly is the one day I wasn't there, we had to submit measurements for the box of our game. And now our game only consists of about 20 flat paper pieces. So naturally, the measurements they ordered was a 22 by 6 by 6, which, if you saw in the video, was an absolutely ginormous box of comic proportions. Yeah.
That's funny. So what are you currently working on now?
So currently, I'm enrolled in 5 classes, which means there's 5 different projects going on. It's all this hectic nonsense. But currently, the most taxing or time-consuming class is the capstone program in CSG, or Computer Simulation and Gaming, which currently we're working on a fighting game, which is a 1v1, 2-dimensional, you try to beat up the other person game like that, called Rebel Streetwise, with this 80s dance aesthetic, and it's a lot of fun to work on. It's really goofy. Everyone seems to enjoy it. We have like 30+ students working on it at any given time, and that's awesome.
Does it relate to something that maybe we've seen before and we can kind of put that picture in our mind? Is it kind of thinking 80s video games, more 90s, or are we getting into that 3D realm?
It's sort of like the popular franchise Street Fighter, if it had much more of the like 80s vibrant aesthetic.
Vibrant meaning?
Very colorful, very over the top and grandiose. Yeah.
What is your favorite video game?
My favorite video game of all time. That's a very complicated question.
How about right now, or
right
the last
now,
like 2 years?
Last 2 years, I'd have to say my favorite video game is the new Spider-Man released on the PS4. It's just a lot of fun, and I love Spider-Man. So what's not to like?
How about vintage stuff?
Vintage stuff. My favorite old video game, probably the first Metal Gear Solid.
Man, I've never heard of that. What is that?
No one has.
Okay.
It's well, it's relatively obscure in the gaming world, I feel, but it's made by a very popular Japanese developer named Hideo Kojima, and it's a very quality game. It's super good.
Brian, do you have any
recommend anyone.
questions for Brandon?
I was curious what your favorite classes were.
My favorite classes currently are mostly the ones taught by Emil Harmson, the man in the video they showed. A lot of his classes, he has really innovative ways of teaching, and I really like that. But the classes that resonate with me the most are hard mechanics design classes, like advanced game design, intermediate game design, and classes like that really work with me.
I understand that a number of the classes are project-based and you're working in teams. Do you talk about that? Is that challenging?
So almost every class we do is like that. The idea of the class is you come in, there's some introductory day, and that's the first week. The next 15 weeks, you're in a team of people working on a project. It can be challenging, you know. A lot of the required readings and all that are about leadership and working as a team. It can be really tough, but it's very important skills for our field, and I think it's great to learn it in this safe-to-fail environment.
Do you think you're going to finish the game that you're working on here, this last one you were talking about? You think you'll be able to finish that by the end of the school year? Or?
Hopefully, yeah. It's really hard to tell so far out because the capstone program is 2 semesters long, and we're only on the first. With our current progress, though, I do believe we will, and that is very comforting.
Excellent.
So before we wrap up, what is the one thing that excites you the most about the gaming industry right now?
Just how explosive it is. It just took off around the 90s and 2000s, and it hasn't stopped since. It's still growing, and people are still innovating on some of the oldest and most baseline ideas. I think that's amazing.
Great. Thank you so much, Brandon.
No problem. Thank you.
We'll touch more on this later, but did you know that Walt Disney had only 2 animators working for him when he created Steamboat Willie in 1928? Now there are more than 64,000 jobs in the animation field, and they project there will be almost 4,000 more by 2024. In keeping with our creative arts theme for the day, we take a look at the incredible career and influence of animation instructor Tim Decker.
From the Air Force to The Simpsons and Disney Interactive, MATC animation instructor Tim Decker has had quite an eclectic and accomplished career.
I always wanted to be an artist, so that took me from that little town of Winthrop Harbor, Illinois, to Colorado, and then I was out to Hollywood. And then, well, I was in Hollywood the first time I went broke, so I went in the Air Force, and I was a base cartoonist at Holloman Air Force Base.
While later attending Cal Arts, Decker worked on the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Alvin and the Chipmunks. The experience he gained there would eventually blossom into further fruitful opportunities.
I was on The Simpsons seasons 4, 5, and 6. And then from The Simpsons, I went to Knowledge Adventure to help design educational software for children and do character designs and animation. I was lead animator there. And then from there, I went to Disney Interactive, and I was in charge of the animation for all the games at Disney Interactive.
While Hollywood and Disney may have been Tim's childhood dream, he always felt his work had an even greater purpose.
I think I'm most proud of working with animation for education, because I always wanted my animation to do something educational. I wanted people to get something from my animation, and I wanted my animation to make a change.
This desire, along with a growing distaste for Hollywood life and some misfortune, brought Decker back to the Midwest.
Disney laid off all the guys that drew animation on the same day that I got laid off. So there was like 1,400 guys looking for jobs. So I came back here.
Soon, Tim would live out his new dream as an educator.
Luckily, I got hired at UWM first to start teaching animation, and then MATC approached me about starting an animation program with Brian Meninaw. And so I'm back here, and I'm teaching the young people that want to be artists and animators that they can do it.
Now, after co-founding MATC's animation program, Decker works with students to make them better animators on a daily basis.
Day to day, I teach a lot of drawing, I teach a lot of animation, and I teach a lot of character design and concept art. I really think that concepting is an important skill that my students should have, because you have to be able to roll with the punches.
But Decker doesn't just teach his students the fundamentals of animation. He looks to engender the values and attitude needed to be successful in the professional environment.
You have to be able to take direction, and you have to have a thick skin. When someone says your art sucks, you gotta suck it up and try that scene again.
The former Simpsons animator may not sugarcoat the realities of the industry, but that is all part of his desire to see his students flourish.
I love to see them succeed. I love to see their work. That's awesome. I'm really proud of all my students.
For MATC's hopeful animators, Tim Decker has advice, expertise, and an inspiring message to offer.
It all comes down to you being an artist at heart and wanting to do it.
An inspiring message indeed. Our thanks to Tim and the rest of the animation department for their time and continued work with us here in the television program. Now it's time for the MATC Minute.
Thanks, Mr. Carlson. We're getting into October, and there are some important events to keep in mind. Did you know that you can vote here at MATC? Early voting opportunities started on October 15th and will be available until November 3rd on the 3rd floor of the S building. Remember to bring your state ID and your student ID with your class schedule. Come to the Autumn Craft Fair at the Oak Creek campus October 27th. They will have over 60 crafters and a bake sale. Admission is only $2, and the proceeds from the fair go to scholarship foundations. Have you completed classes before or have valuable real-world experience? Visit the Oak Creek campus to learn more about the prior learning and experience credit that's available. Go to room A200E this Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And remember, on October 30th, there are no classes for MATC Day. For more information, visit the MATC website.
Thank you for that MATC Minute. Now before we go, we have to wrap up this show. We have one last piece to show you, which you will have a fun and exciting annual tradition. Every October 31st, they celebrate the Night of the Ghost Train. Check this out.
Hi guys, student producer Taylor Paget here, and this is another Hidden Gem KE. Tonight, we're going to take a ride on Milwaukee's infamous Ghost Train. Routed as the fastest passenger train in the world, the Chicago and Northwestern Railway's 400 routinely covered the 400 miles between Chicago and St. Paul, Minnesota, in just under 400 minutes, including the travel through Shorewood along the route of today's Oak Leaf Trail. This may look like a normal cross bridge, but it's actually an artistic sensory experience on the Oak Leaf Trail Bridge in Shorewood. The Ghost Train made its inaugural run on October 31st in 2016. The first of its kind public art installation has enabled visitors to travel back in history, imagining the round-trip journey of the Twin Cities 400, which was operated by the Chicago and Northwestern Railway and crossed that same location from 1935 to 1963. You can catch the Ghost Train going northbound at 7 p.m. and southbound at 7:15 p.m. during the winter months, September 1st through March 31st. Every year on Halloween night, residents of Shorewood attend a celebration from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the Corner Bakery parking lot in honor of the Night of the Ghost Train. That's it for this week's Hidden Gem KE. Catch you on the Twin Cities 400.
That was such an interesting story. Thank you, Taylor Paget, for bringing us this amazing content. I personally didn't know about the celebration. What about you guys? How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I was not aware of that. I think that's pretty neat to see. I'm going to probably go try to check it out this weekend. Yeah.
It's really funny. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Carlson. It was great to meet you. I thank you, Brandon, and I may be reconsidering my career. But in order to learn more about this, visit MATC's website. And that's all we have for today. Brian, Brandon, thank you so much for being here again and for joining us this afternoon. For more MATC Now, you can visit the Milwaukee PBS website or subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive a notification every time we go live. Stay tuned every Monday at 3:30 p.m. for another episode of MATC Now. Once again, I'm Kaitlyn Herzog. Stay informed and have a great day.